Hello everybody watching in the replay, just waiting for a couple of people to join on. Just give it a minute or two, but today I want to talk about dark entities. I want to tell you in detail about an experience that I just had yesterday, and I want to talk about how they can actually activate your light. Okay, so we've got a couple people joining now. Where to Van Gogh, hello, thank you for joining. Kalima Yoga, thank you for joining. So today I want to talk about an experience that I had yesterday with dark entities that was like one of the worst I've ever had. And you know, at first I really didn't want to tell this story because I never want to bring anyone down, and I don't want to, I don't want to connect with it too much, and I also don't want to make other people connect to it too much. However, there was such a huge lesson in it all, and it feels really powerful. So that's why I want to share about it today. So hello everybody that's joining. So basically, the title of this video being Dark Entities and How They Activate Your Light. That is so important to understand, because it takes what seems to be like a really awful situation and totally flips it on its head into being like, okay, just like every other hardship that I've ever faced, there was a lesson in that. There was so much growth involved in that it almost feels like it was meant to be, right? So, so the first thing that I want to talk about is, like a dark entity or... Oh, sorry, and Where to Van Gogh says, thanks for doing this. I've been attacked too. Starseed here. Yes, so this is something that, and I'm going to tell the story of what happened to me yesterday. I did make a post and alluded to what happened, but I didn't go into detail. But then today I just feel really called to talk about it. And maybe that we need to start talking about it. It's a reality. It's, like I'm not all doom and gloom. I tend to talk a lot about love and light, but I do want to talk about this other part of being a starseed and how it can really affect you. And so the first thing that I just want to say is that it's all about where your frequency is. Okay, so normally my frequency would not be in a place where something like a dark entity would really be able to cause me any trouble. However, yesterday, I got really bad news. I got really terrible news that created so much disappointment in me. I haven't seen my mom. I moved from Canada to the US, so I changed countries, and because of that I haven't seen my mom in months and months, and so I was really looking forward to having her stay with me for Christmas. And because of everything that's going on in the world with like the new COVID and the new variants of that and all of this, she's unable to come. So it was just like this crushing disappointment, and that really brought my frequency down. Like I felt lonely, depressed, the whole thing. On top of that, I was really suffering with stomach aches, and I know that a lot of starseeds are going through digestive issues right now. Like, what is with that? All of us, it's in the solar plexus. It's so bad though. Like, it's so bad all the time. You can't eat anything right, it feels like. No matter how hard you try, something isn't sitting right, and it's a lot of pain. So I had all of these things that were causing me to like lower my frequency, right? So I went to bed in that state. I went to bed in a place of being like low and not feeling good. And then that's when all of these like attacks happened. I had 3 things in a row. So I want to talk about tell the story of what happened with that. I feel like I had one other thing I wanted to say before I jumped into that. So basically that, it's a lower frequency, like whatever brings you down, for them to even be able to like connect with you in any way. But then the question is that why those kinds of things happen? So like I've been talking about initiations a lot, and I'm taking Starseed Academy into a new level of growth by starting a mentorship program. And a lot of the time, right before you go to expand your light on this world and be in service and do really good things, you get hit with a bunch of attacks from the darkness. And so what do they hit you with? They hit you with anything that will bring down your frequency so that they can have access to you. Because if you're like super high vibing, they don't have any access to you at all. It's when your frequency gets lowered through all of these like frustrations, like what happened to me, that then the frequency comes down and then they have access. So getting disappointing news, getting sick, I mean, there are a lot of things that can, like, maybe you can let me know what brings down your frequency, like anxiety, nightmares, whatever it is. Those are the kinds of things that the darkness or dark entities will use to like bring you down to their level. Then they have access to you, because otherwise they do not have access to you. And hello to everyone joining. Okay. So that was what I wanted to say before I told the story of what actually happened, was that, you know, the frequency has to come down in order for them to have access to you and be able to bother you at all. But that's kind of how they work. They bring your frequency down through a bunch of stuff, like what happened with me. And they tend to do this kind of thing or play these games right before expansion, right before you're about to break through something, break through a level into a new level of growth, bringing more light into your body, especially if you're doing it in the light of service. Like for me, like if I'm taking Starseed Academy into a new level, it's going to help so many more people and affect so many more people. Well, then yes, that's something that they would want to shut down. So it's not, I know it's not just me. Like think about how many people have businesses where they are bringing more light to the planet. They're channeling more light to the planet through their own growth, and then by helping others to learn how to do it, to learn to be channels. Hi Tom, thanks for joining. Hello everyone joining. So that's the games that the darkness plays. They bring down your frequency so that they have access to you. Okay, so now that we have that out of the way, it's kind of obvious how to stop them from having access to you. You have to rise back up, right? So you have to do whatever it takes to raise your frequency back up to stop the attack. Because I tried to stop the attack from a low place, and it wasn't really all that successful. I had to first like bring myself back up by connecting to source, by focusing on gratitude. Gratitude is literally magic. It is so powerful. And I sometimes I forget how powerful it is, but when you focus on the things that you're grateful for, you just feel yourself going up, going up, going up. So gratitude, love, connecting with source, remembering who you are, that you are an eternal soul. And that yes, you're here in a human right now because you have an earth mission, but remember who you really are and how powerful you are. And as soon as you start building yourself back up like that, you immediately start to feel your strength returning and you start to feel your frequency going up, and then they're down here and they lose access to you. Okay, so hopefully that all makes sense. How they gain access to you and why they would do that during a time of expansion to shut all of that down. How to help yourself by rising yourself back up through. And you know, another way to raise your, I mean, there's lots of ways to raise your vibration and we all have heard them all, I'm sure. But like stretching my body always helps because it moves things. It moves icky energy out, anxiety out. That really helped me yesterday. Crystals, exercise, talking with a loved one, crying it out. I mean, whatever you need to do to raise your frequency to take the access, you know, remove their access of you. Okay. So the other part of this, before I get into story time with Starseed Academy, hello furry baby, nice to see you. So the other part of this is in the title. So that dark entities, during like their attack or whatever, this is not their intention, yet the outcome can be that they actually activate your light. Hi Janine. So they actually activate your light because most starseeds are super stubborn, fiery, determined people. And as soon as somebody tells us that we can't, then we're just gonna do it even more so. And that's exactly what happened to me. Like after these 3 attacks in a row, I took a little time there to feel pretty low, but then all of a sudden it started returning to me like that feeling of divine determination. It comes from the divine. And it's like, wait a minute, let me just for a sec remember who the F I am and why I came here, and some like shadows are not gonna stop me from doing that. And then I was like stretching and I was really thinking about this, and I realized that it does not matter. It doesn't matter how much they try. It doesn't matter how bad I feel. It doesn't matter. I can have the nightmares, I can have the anxiety, I could get the attacks, and I know that it will never stop me. I will never stop. So it's kind of like, come at me, bro. Like, it's not going to stop me. It's only going to push me even further. Like, now I'm really going to show you. Now I'm really going to do it. So that is the way that, like, dealing with these kinds of dark entities and attacks actually activates my light. Is it instant? No. I mean, it's not instant. I'm still human. I still go through sadness. It's still really hard. It's still an attack. But the end result is actually me feeling even more passionate, even more fired up than when I started. So they're really just like fueling my flame, that phoenix fire flame where we rise up from the ashes of our former selves and we do the thing. You do the thing that scares you. You put yourself out there. You know, you either start a business, expand your business, you work in the light, you become of service, and all of those things. So that being said, so that's how the darkness can activate your light. And maybe you guys have felt that. Maybe you have examples of that in your own life where like what was supposed to be an attack might have brought you down for like a short period of time. But in the end, the result was actually that you were so much more empowered. You were so much stronger. You were so much more fierce and you were ready, right? Like it's just like it's like an initiation. It truly is an initiation into your next level of badassery. And that's what it is for me right now. So I really want you to know that if this is happening, you are not alone. I want you to know that it's a good sign. I mean, it's not fun, but it's a sign that you're on the right path. Because why would they bother you or give you any trouble at all if you weren't about to come into the light in a new way, right? Like their whole point is to try to stop as much light coming to earth as possible. And our whole purpose is to bring balance. So we are trying to bring light onto the earth to balance the darkness and the light so that it's equal, right? And so they're going to try to stop that balance from happening. And so, I mean, just know that if then you're experiencing these kinds of attacks or anything like that, that it's a sign that you are on the right path. You are on the path of the light. You are growing, expanding. You're bringing it down from higher realms, like higher frequencies, and grounding them here into the earth. So much so that now you've irritated some of the darkness. Or they would not bother you. Why would they care? They wouldn't bother you at all. They bother starseeds, light workers, awakened souls for a reason. Because our work. That's why. You know, like the muggles, maybe that's not nice to call people muggles, but people that are still asleep, or that have not had their awakening yet, they are not bothered by darkness. Like they are not having entities attack them. It is not happening. And if they do, it's because they're starting to experience an awakening and they're trying to be discouraged. So there's always a reason for it. And that reason means that you are on the right path. Okay, that you are doing the thing. You are here. You are in the path of service. You are fulfilling your mission. Don't change anything. You find a way to use it as determination and find a way to use it to help you. So I know I missed a comment back here from Tom. The darkness, the dark entity I told you about is the one you don't want going near you. Well, and there are different levels for sure of dark entities. So, okay, so now that I've kind of talked about how they gain access to you, why they gain access to you, how you can remove their access of you by lifting your frequency back up, and then how they can, you know, without meaning to actually activate your light, right? So those are like the most important lessons that I learned, but I do want to get into storyteller mode because I do want to share what happened. And I wasn't going to share this story at all because I don't want anyone to connect to it too much. I don't want you to connect with any of the dark beings that were involved. I don't want to bring it to you. However, I do know, I feel really called to share it right now. So there's a reason. Somebody out there needs to hear it, right? Because they're either going through it too, or they're about to, or they need a better understanding of it, or they need to see all of these like lessons that I learned from this one experience. Just see how I turned something really awful into those three main lessons. Understanding how they get access, understanding how to remove their access, and being activated by it. Okay, so all this power from it. Okay, hi Stephen. So here's what happened. So I was in that low place. They had gained access to me because of the things that I told you about earlier. I had had disappointing news. I was sick. All kinds of things had brought my frequency down, and I felt low. Like you feel it when it's low. So I felt really low. So then I go to bed, and I had 3 things happen in a row. So I'm sleeping. So, you know, some of you might think that they're dreams. Your dreams are memories. They're soul memories. They're real. That's what your soul was really just doing, okay? This is actually astral travel. I guarantee you are traveling every single night. The soul has missions, especially now. We are busy. We are very tired because we are so busy when we think we're sleeping and we're not, okay? So this was more than a dream. So just I want you to understand this was like an astral experience. So I'm in my bed upstairs. My bedroom is upstairs, and I get called downstairs into the living room. So this is my astral self. So my physical body's still in bed. I get called, hi Brian, hi babe. So I get called downstairs. Okay, so I wake up. I mean, I don't wake up. Okay, so physically I'm still asleep. So my astral self like sits up in my bed. I feel called by something. There's an angel in my living room and it's calling to me. And I'm like, oh my goodness. So I go down the stairs and there's literally this angel in my living room. And it was so bright. It was white and golden, really beautiful colors. So it started to fit me with a set of wings, right? So I've had a few dreams where I'm birthing wings, growing wings, but this time the wings were an eternity symbol. So they were like alive. There was energy racing through them. It was like choo, 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 choo. And they were going to be placed on my back, this eternity symbol, or like, you know, like that figure 8 on its side. So made of light. So they get fitted onto my back, and I'm like actually hunched forward a little bit as the angel is like connecting them to my back. So I kind of like hunch forward, and these wings get put on my back. And then as soon as they attach, I feel it in my body. I feel when the energy comes through, I can feel it racing through my back. Like it was crazy. So then everything seems to be okay. But then all of a sudden the angel's like looks up like in an alert way, like, uh-oh. And it's looking out the window. And I'm like, oh, what's going on? And the angel takes hi Shauna. And the angel takes what looks like a flashlight and shines it out the window. But it was actually coming from its hand. So it shines like a beam of light out the window. And then I see when it shines a beam of light out the window, some darkness move like past the window. And I'm like, ooh, what's out there? So then I do the same and I shine a light out the window. And our two beams go through the window and connect, and they hit the eyes of this dark being, and they get lit up like when an animal's eyes get lit up. And it looked like a demon wolf or something. And its eyes like instantly lit up like this greenish gold color. And as soon as we saw it and the light hit it, it shrieked. Like this horrible shrieking sound, which my boyfriend then showed for me later, or played for me later, that it was the sound of like a wraith. If you've ever seen a wraith, like this is like an astral being, and they show up in movies a lot of the time, and it's like a shrieking, horrible scream. That's what it did. So it shrieked and then ran off, okay? And then I woke up. Like my physical, like I fully woke up after that. So that was the first experience. So there were 3 in a row. So that was the first one, called to the living room. I came downstairs, getting fitted for these wings, and then this thing interrupts us. It's like watching us. And I could feel and sense from the angel that it was really important that we were not observed. So there was like a sense of like, uh-oh, and like this urgency to like shine light on it to make it leave. So, okay, so that was the first one. And as I woke up, I felt my soul enter back into my body. Like if you've done a lot of astral traveling, a lot of the time your human wakes up before you're actually back. So my human woke up and I wasn't fully back in yet. So then you're in 2 places at once and it's super eerie. And that's when paralysis happens. And people get really freaked out by that, like sleep paralysis, because your soul's not quite back yet. Okay. So anyway, I felt my soul enter back in, and it entered in through my back where the wings were, like where the wings had been attached, that crazy racing feeling of energy. I entered back in through there, and then I was like, oh, it was really uncomfortable. So then I was kind of freaked out. So I got up and walked around for a sec, and then I laid down and I eventually fell back asleep. So this is the second experience now. Okay. So then I fall asleep. So now in this next astral experience, I'm suddenly on a Pleiadian ship, and we are in a greenhouse room. So the room is white and there's bright, bright lights above, and there's plants everywhere. And there's this female Pleiadian beside me, and we're working together, and we're like tending to the plants. And there's a speaker system, and over the speakers is playing harmonic music that helps the plants grow. So like the Pleiadians like have figured out a lot about like gardening, medical stuff, science. I mean, they're so advanced. So they had like the exact right tones, but it sounded like beautiful music to get the plants to grow the strongest and the healthiest. And so it was like a garden inside of a spaceship, like a greenhouse. It was super beautiful. So I'm just here, like I'm working. I kind of woke up mid task. So I was like working on a plant and I look and she's there, and now I'm fully there though. I'm like lucidly dreaming or astral traveling. And I look at her and I like smile, and then I'm like, I know what I'm doing because I woke up midway. So I'm like doing something with this plant. So then somebody comes into the room, and whispers something into the Pleiadian's ear, like urgently, like, oh, I need to tell you this or whatever. And then they hand her a piece of paper, and she looks at it, folds it back up, and she hands it to me, and she does this, like, shh. So I'm like, oh, okay. So I open up the piece of paper, and on the piece of paper, so clear, like I saw it so clearly in handwriting, like in cursive scroll writing, it said, the unconscious 9. And I knew when I read it that it was a group of 9 dark entities, the unconscious 9. So the opposite of consciousness or awakened souls, the unconscious 9. It's a group of hunters, right? Wraiths, these black wraith hunters that work together, and they were there. Okay, so she gets the warning hand, and then she hands me the piece of paper and says, shh. So I open it up and I read the words, the unconscious 9. And I look at her and I go, oh, the 9? And I should not have said anything because she said to be quiet, but I didn't read their entire name, and I didn't think that just saying the 9 would like activate or bring them on or whatever. So I opened it up and I'm like, the 9? And as soon as I said that, oh, all hell broke loose in that greenhouse, in that like plant room. So all of a sudden the speakers went from playing this beautiful, like spiritual, high frequency music to playing the song. If anybody here has watched the show The Magicians, you remember the Beast, and he had like a sound or a song that they always played every time he came on screen. It was like doon 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 doon, like it was really scary. It was like a lot of bass, boom boom, like it's coming for you. That started playing over the speakers, and like the whole feeling in the room, I just went cold. Everything changed. Like the 9 were there, and I looked at this Pleiadian woman sitting beside me, and I'm like, they're in the speakers because they're like astral, they're etheric, right? So they're not physical. So they were in the speakers. So I picked up like a pipe or a broom handle or something, and I hit one of the speakers and it fell on the ground, and I just started hitting it over and over and over again. And she was trying to take out the other speaker. And as the speaker broke apart, this black thing rose up like really high over me, like a tall body. And so I put my hands out like I did when I was shining my light in the first experience. And I said, I return you to the light. I return you to the light. I return you to the light. And I was blasting it with so much light. Now, I will just say quickly, a little interruption in this, that is not normally how I would do something. I have always respected the free will of every single entity and being. And I always say, like, you can go wherever you want, but you can't stay here. Like, you can go to the neutral place, you can go back to your dark, weird astral home, or you can go to the light. Like, when you cross over a ghost or you're dealing with entities, you have to respect their free will. However, this was different. This was like imminent attack, and I had no choice but to use like more like a battle magic, right? Like more like battle magic than it being like a calm situation where there's something that's been bothering you and you have like the space to give it the option. So I kind of felt bad about that afterwards, but really I felt like that was truly my only option. So just so you know, you normally would give any being its free will. You can claim your space and tell it has to leave, but you don't normally just cross something over. Like that's forceful, right? But that's what I did. And like, that's not like me. And so I trusted that because it was like the first thing that I did. It was like an instinct. Like I knew that I had to. And I was like, I return you to the light. Like it had to be so fast because it was like right there, and it was I don't know what it was gonna do. So I said, I return you to the light a bunch of times, and like this light was like flowing out of my hands and like surrounding it like a cocoon. And then out of that cocoon of light, it stepped forward again, like threateningly. And I was like, it's powerful. And then I woke up. And when I woke up, I woke up for a reason. There was a huge crash in my room. I woke up because something in my actual 3D room here, like in the house, physical room, went like crash. And I like woke up with a start and I was like, what the fuck was that? Like, what was that crash? What was that experience? So I still don't know, like, hello to everybody joining. I'm talking about an experience that I just had with some dark entities. So I still don't know, was that crash to help me? Like something, you know, like a spirit guide or an angel being like, get her out of that astral experience, and like throwing something so that I wake up and I immediately exit that space and I'm back in my body safe? Maybe. Nothing was thrown, by the way, and it was loud. It wasn't just like, oh, like the cat jumped down. It was like a crash, like a car crash. It was so loud. And there was nothing out of place in the room, but that was 100% like it happened, right? So it could have been, I mean, that could have been what happened, like a crash to wake me up and get me back to safety. Or it could have been that astral world and my real world were very linked, and that was happening in both ways, like to my physical body and to my astral self. So I really don't know. So then, I mean, I really couldn't sleep after that. I actually got up for a few hours and did some work, and then I was so tired I went back to sleep for like a little nap mid-afternoon. And the third thing that happened, okay, so because I still hadn't raised my frequency enough, there was still access to me. I was still, especially after all this, I was feeling afraid, and I was feeling like the unconscious nine, that they weren't going to stop. Like, you know, that they had been like assigned to me for some reason, and that felt really scary and like unfair and all these things. So I was like not in a good place. So then I went and I fell asleep. This third experience happened. I woke up and I was in a meadow, a beautiful meadow, and right in front of me was one of the members from my group, and her name is Susie, and she was there in this gorgeous meadow, like all kinds of green and trees and flowers. It was so beautiful, huge sky above. And she was there and she was working on something, and she had a lot of urgency in her. Like she was trying to be really quick. And she looked at me and kind of maybe saw that I was like woke up or whatever. And she's like, she said something like, we need to hurry. You need protection right now. Like you need to be protected right now. And I was like, okay. And she was spinning with her hands, like her palms out. She was creating this shield in the air above us, a shield made out of rainbow light, which if you know Susie, like that's so perfect. And thank you so much for showing up for me, because I did need to be protected and I did need help. I feel like I actually really needed help at that time. I was really struggling to get myself safe. I was really struggling to get to raise my frequency and remove their access to me. It just kept happening over and over and over. Like I obviously wasn't able to get there on my own. And then she showed up and she just created this shield, and she just said, you need protection right now. Like it's not safe. And I was like, okay, thank you. And then I felt better. It was like the shield just kept growing and growing and growing, like around me almost. And it was made of light, and it was like these rainbow colors, and it was so beautiful. So thank you, Susie. That made such a difference. And then I woke up, and again, I was shooken up because, I mean, it just kept happening. Like there we were in this beautiful astral experience together, but there was still the fear, the imminence. It's a bit like, you need it right now, like the urgency. Like it just, every time I fell asleep and my spirit left my body, I was attacked every single time. So it was really frustrating too. So then, of course, I was afraid to go to sleep the next night, which was last night. So I made sure, like, okay, obviously this kept happening for a reason. So I meditated right before bed. I did some card readings. I pulled some cards on those dreams, and they were really amazing, like reflected exactly what was happening. I was working with crystals, and then as I was falling asleep, I was holding my hands over the different areas of my body and visualizing filling my body up with light, right? Like connecting to source and then using my own light and like filling my body up with light so that I was light. I was light. I was fully a light body. And then I don't even remember any dreams last night, not even one. So, we always dream, so obviously nothing extremely terrible happened. I just got the rest that I needed, because there was no rest the night before with all of that happening. So again, I share these things so that you know you're not alone. I share this because it's real. the dark entities are real. And they are playing games, and they are on the attack, and they are specifically attacking right now starseeds, light workers, awakened souls that are about to expand. So if you are about to have an expansion in your life, in your light, then you are probably experiencing this. And the way that they gain access to you is through lowering your frequency. So be very aware of everything that you take in, all of the entertainment that you watch. Be aware of your responses to things. Don't let things hit so hard the way that I really let that crashing disappointment really take me down. When I could have really, I know it's not easy, and I did my best, so I'm not going to be too hard on myself, but gratitude could have been placed there somewhere. I could have used gratitude, and that would have made a difference. I know that it would have, and I didn't. And then look what happened, right? So remember how powerful gratitude is. Remember that your perspective is everything. It's everything. It's everything. It's a reflection of your frequency. So when you feel attacked, remove the access that they have from you by raising your frequency. But it's not going to work every time, because we're human, and we fail and we fall down. You know, when you're really sick, when you're really depressed, when you're really anxious, when you're going through heartbreak, it's okay. And then you'll be in the situation that I'm in. Okay, that was really scary. That sucked. Honestly, that really sucked. It's so much scarier to see and live through it than it is to like hear about it, right? It was terrifying. But what did I gain from it? It activated my light. It activated my fire. It activated me to be like, you know what? One of my like worst nightmares just happened. Like some of the scariest stuff ever. And I'm still here. I'm still here. I'm still gonna, work. I'm still gonna do my thing. I'm still gonna be serving people, expanding my business. It didn't stop anything. It didn't bring anything to a crashing halt. I'm still here. So you can have a terrifying experience and be okay. It can activate your passion and your determination to just keep going. You'll still be doing it. You'll still do the thing. So really, it's just another lesson, and it's another way to grow, right? It's a hard way to grow. I would choose the other way if you had a choice, like to raise your frequency, focus on gratitude, let that be the lesson, then going through all of that. But if that happens, don't be hard on yourself. You're not alone. Everyone, we go through it. We sink. We give them access, and then we suffer for it. But then we come back even stronger. So I hope that this message helps someone today to either understand better how it works or to not feel so alone. And Stephen's saying, yeah, almost like small tests to activate us further. Yeah, and I think of it now as an initiation into my next level, because I am on the brink of this huge expansion. And if you are an entrepreneur, then you know that right before you're about to, create a new offering, you go through that. You go through initiations. Before I did everything in my business, any new step, like when I first created the membership group, I went through an initiation. I went through it hard. And so here, and then it's also the amount of pressure or resistance that's put on you by the darkness is connected to how big your expansion is about to be. So, I mean, I'm going to just blow up, guys, because that was so much resistance. It was so bad. It was so bad. So that just shows me how big this thing is that I'm planning. It's a mentorship group that I'm creating, and I plan on launching it in February, and I plan on talking to you about it starting in the new year. So I'm going to spend all of January like describing it to you, explaining it to you, showing you how it's going to work, setting it up. And then we're going to go live in February. So I know it's going to be huge. And I know people have been waiting for this. I've been waiting for this. And I've gotten like so many messages from people over the years, especially the last year, saying like, are you going to do a mentorship? I want to be mentored by you and all of these things. So it's going to be in a group setting. It's going to be so, so powerful. And it's going to be all about psychic light. So psychic gifts in service to the light. So growing your psychic gifts and using those to serve the light in a very powerful way, in a new way. And it's going to be really, really deep. It's going to be really deep and detailed, and it's going to be like stuff I've never talked about before. like all brand new stuff. So really powerful. So I'm really looking forward to that. Nothing's going to stop me. That's going to happen in February. You will see it. Come hell or high water, it will happen. And I love you all so much. Thank you for, I know I gave you absolutely zero notice about going live. I just felt like it. So thanks for showing up anyway. I love you all. Have a beautiful rest of your day, and let me know, message me or comment on the replay on this, how you're being initiated right now, and if this is happening with you too. Okay? I love you. Oh, and always remember, listen to your heart and the quiet voice within, because you are so much more than the body you are in. I love you. Bye.